Through the maze of sand. Hi, welcome to another vlog this week. Yeah, the weather here, we need to talk about the weather. It's just literally disgusting. I think it's like 97 degrees Fahrenheit, but cloudy, and it's like that feeling like the air and the whole sky is like sitting on you, and it just is like a hot sauna. Absolutely disgusting. So I thought actually I would take I can't stop fucking with my hair. I thought that I would take inspiration from Iggy because in her last vlog she talked about going for a morning swim, and I was like, yeah. And I live really close to the sea actually, so like I'm contemplating to just put on my bathing suit and like take nothing and ride my bike there and like swim in the water and then come home, or like just take a refreshing shower and just like sit on the couch and read. So I don't know, so if you can help me, which you can. I also wanted to talk to you about what I'm reading, which I mentioned last vlog at the end, that I started this short story collection, I Hold a Wolf by the Ears, by Laura Vandenberg. And I've read about 4 or 5 of the short stories so far. I knew my mood so well. I knew that short stories were just it for me right now. And I also think that it's because I don't have a lot of time to read recently because of work. And I've just felt in the past few books that I've been reading that I wish that I hadn't dipped in and out of them, but the reality is that I kind of need to dip in and out of a book these days, so I felt like short stories would be perfect because sometimes it takes like 10 minutes to read a story, and then if you have to leave it, you can leave it, and then the next time you pick it up, it's like you're starting kind of something fresh again. So that's just great for me right now. And so far I'm really enjoying it. I'm really loving the vibe. Okay, I'm gonna look for a different word because vibe makes me feel like I have no vocabulary. Atmosphere. I really, really love the atmosphere. Kind of spooky, not in like a scary way. It's just like there's something uncanny and mysterious and sort of reminds me a little bit of like David Lynch sort of atmosphere and aesthetic. It's definitely like rooted in reality, but it does have moments where like it becomes surreal, not in like a magical way, like just, you know, just some strange situations that like start to like do this. Something's not right here, like it's being twisted, and I love that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm like really enjoying to just read it. The first few stories have been great, but ones that stood out to me were Slumberland, which is sort of like following this girl who has this neighbor upstairs who's like crying all night long, every night, and she's like really wants to escape the sound of this woman that's crying, so she like kind of roams around the neighborhood and drives around with her camera, and she takes photos, and she goes to this like Slumberland motel where there's like kind of strange things happening there. There's sort of like madness, like mad women, she kind of called them. and like she photographs things there, or she photographs like inside people's windows, and like just this sense of like observation. And the reason why I say it feels kind of David Lynchy is like this setup of like a neighborhood at night, and like how everything kind of becomes a little strange. Also, I mentioned in my BookTube newbie tag that like I'm a dancer, but I'm also a dance maker, like I'm a choreographer, so if I can call myself a choreographer. And these stories, like there's a sense and a flavor in these stories that is very similar to what I would love to create and try to create on stage with a dance theater piece. So if you've read this or you're going to read this book, yeah, it's very much like, I don't know, maybe it's fun for you to know that it like definitely aligned with things that I try to experiment with in my own like art world. Photographs by Gregory Crewdson. I'm kind of getting those vibes also from some of these stories. And the other story that I really enjoyed so far is called Lizard, which is also sort of like dealing with like the infiltration of the news. If you watch the news, you can literally just feel like the world is falling apart all the time, and how it can like influence your psyche and like push you to extremes, and you start to become erratic and angry in your real life, and it comes out in weird ways. So like that's one layer of this story that I thought was really interesting. But the other thing was like this idea that like an apartment complex, one of those big, you know, apartment complexes that you live in, is sort of like a micro world, and that feeling that like lives are being led like around you, and you can hear clues into other people's lives like through what you hear through the walls, or you hear something upstairs. I just really like that kind of feeling. The more I think about it, the more I'm probably not gonna make it to the beach. So I'm probably just gonna chill here and take a shower and keep reading. So I feel like that's all I have to update you with now at this point. But it's the beginning of the vlog, so like let's see where this goes. It could go crazy and wild, who knows? So I'll catch you later. It's so hot, I could literally fall asleep here. My Kindle died while I was reading, so I am watching this lovely face. We've been blessed by a new video from Rebecca Eats Books about environmental anxiety, so that's fun. Love you. Yes, darling, from under. Hi, friends. It is Wednesday evening. I haven't been filming very much. I don't even remember when the last time I talked to you was. Maybe it wasn't that long ago. Maybe like 2 days ago or something. Yeah, I'm just coming here to tell you that I finished I Hold a Wolf by the Ears. I really, really enjoyed. It was a really fun read, and it was exactly what I wanted, and her kind of surreal world that she creates is really fun to read, even though it deals with some like heavy stuff also. I did find my experience of it quite still like easy, although I feel like they will linger in my brain. So yeah, I just wanted to wrap up my thoughts. There's a passage in the last story which is the story that the title is named after. And like that refers to like I hold a wolf by the ears to mean or be kind of interpreted as like there's no easy way out. And like I feel like that's kind of a theme of like the whole collection, like this struggle without an easy way out of the situation. But these collections are definitely dealing with like violence, like proximity to disaster. I wrote like proximity to disaster and its aftermath, grief, divorce, loss, and being lost. She also really has like humor sprinkled into these stories. So she has like this funny sense of humor that definitely comes through and like is witty. And then she can also, and then her like language is very, very atmospheric, which I was talking about when I first started reading it, like how much I love the atmosphere that she creates. And then sometimes like she'll just hit you with like really direct language. Sometimes it's just like a knife, or it's just really blunt. So I like all of those things. It makes it a really rich and interesting like experience to read. Some of my favorite stories as I finished were Last Night, which I think is the first one. Yeah. Slumberland, which was really great. Lizards. Volcano House, which also has like really, really evocative language and like description of Iceland, because it takes place in Iceland. And in general, like as the stories move forward, I feel like we leave the like area of Florida and we sort of travel around like Mexico City, Iceland, Italy. So I also felt like this kind of travel vibe and like spending a whole story in like its own place. And I felt like I was traveling with her words, and I just enjoy to read things that like happen in different places and that also describe the atmosphere of being in that place. And I also really loved the last story, I Hold a Wolf by the Ears. It was really, really interesting. So those are some of my highlights, like my favorite stories, but there is something really strong in each story. Like there is something to get out of each one, and they all have their strength. I'm just repeating myself. I just wanted to read you something on Goodreads that just like really sums it up. It's just like part of the blurb when you look up the book. It says, I Hold a Wolf by the Ears draws readers into a world of wholly original, sideways ghost stories that linger in the mouth and mind like rotten, fragrant fruit. Both timeless and urgent, these 11 stories confront misogyny, violence, and the impossible economics of America, with Vandenberg's trademark spiky humor and surreal eye. Totally, this is all very on point, obviously. I Hold a Wolf by the Ears presents a collection of women on the verge, trying to grasp what's left of life, grieving, divorced, and hyper-aware, searching, vulnerable, and unhinged. They exist in a world that deviates from our own only when you look too close. That really sums it up. And I agree with all of those things. So yeah, it was just a real pleasure. I was also talking with Jalen from The Bar and the Bookcase on Instagram about this, because he loves this book and he raved about this book, which was mostly what drove me to read it. And he said this story, like Volcano House, he was like, that a little bit like fucked me up. And like, yeah, definitely like, you know, they're very enjoyable and readable stories, but then you finish them and you're like, whoa, like there's a faint taste of something fucking me up. I know that she has a novel called The Third Hotel, which Jalen's also reading now, and I'm really actually interested to read that. But I'm sort of loving the short stories. So I'm thinking maybe the next thing that I'm gonna pick up is Otessa Moshfegh's short story collection, Homesick for Another World. I've never read Moshfegh before, So I think I'm gonna ask some of the Moshfegh fans on here if they think that that would be a ridiculous thing to start with. Maybe that will be my next adventure. We went like very spontaneously secondhand vintage shopping after work today because we live right down the street from like a kilo shop, which is dangerous. But we don't go there that often. We were on our way somewhere else and Ohad was like, I kind of want to go to the kilo shop. So we went and we found gems. Listen, we cracked the fucking treasure chest. So maybe I will, in the daylight tomorrow or something, show you what we got. Like do like a secondhand vintage fashion show. That's it for now. So I'll catch you later. Hi friends, it's Friday. Is it Friday?
Yeah, it's Friday.
It's Friday morning. Vlogging this week has been at an all-time low. I did start reading and I'm almost halfway through Deborah Levy's Things I Don't Want to Know, which is her first living autobiography book. And I'm really, really enjoying it. I just read the first 2 sections and now there's 2 more. I mean, she's incredible and yeah, I thought I wanted to read like more fiction short stories, but then I can decide that one second and then literally like 3 hours later I just like have to go by my mood, and my mood was like I want something from a writer talking about writing, talking about the craft, talking about life and being an artist and being a woman and marriage and family and all these things. So this is perfect. We're going out for coffee and then breakfast, and I don't know, it's a really, really nice day. So maybe the beach or something. But I'll catch you later.
Me? Zuck. What is this? Look at this one. Wow, look at this. What are you photographing in Florentine? Dog pee? I'm modeling for you in this video. This is the newest collection.
Soon to be bag designer. We have a fashion designer among us. Okay, so I have finished Things I Don't Want to Know by Deborah Levy. Short book, it's like, I think a little bit over 100 pages. And so before I knew it, it was over. I just was really reading through it. I just love her. I loved it so much. Definitely a 5 out of 5. If you like books from writers talking about writing, the craft of writing, how they found themselves as writers, how did they know that that's what they wanted to do, or what was their writer's journey, this is definitely a must. I know she has 3 in this series, and this is the first one, which deals mostly with her childhood. So this book is in a response to George Orwell's Why I Write essay, and she wanted to kind of have her take on this essay, but through the point of view of a female writer. It's very much dealing with like the writer's journey and what is that journey like if you're a female writer. Most of this book, she's reflecting on her childhood at different ages as we go through this book, but where she is like reflecting from is this little tiny hotel on like a mountainside in Mallorca in Spain. So I was just like imagining Deborah Levy at a little writing desk in Mallorca, and I just like couldn't get enough of that also. So as much as it's dealing with the act of writing, it's also dealing with this sense of home because she was born in South Africa, and then she moved when she was quite young. They moved to England. And so it's also sort of, for me, it was like, what does it mean for a child to be displaced in their, you know, in the beginning of their developing years, and also like the kind of fallout of her parents' marriage. So she's kind of loses her father, and before that he's like put in prison for a second, so it's for like a second, like for a few amount of years, like 5 years or something. Like later years when she's like 15 or 16, she's like, you know, in England and just dealing sort of like with what is home, where is home, does she even want to know what home is? Like she's reminded constantly of her life in South Africa, although it's like things that she doesn't want to think about. Being a young writer and like not knowing how or where to start, but like, and being overwhelmed, but knowing that like writing is right for her and it is what she should do, and it's the way that she kind of escapes. And also I could really relate to this. She talks about like impersonating like the writer's life. Like, you know, you hear and you read about these poets or about these writers like sitting in French cafes and smoking a cigarette and writing and being brilliant, and then her being in like this small diner in England, like writing on napkins with like a leaky ballpoint pen, and she's like feels like she's like impersonating like the writer's life, and she's imagining of reaching something and being something, but feeling obviously very far from it. So I just thought that was like, I know that feeling, and I feel like everyone knows that can relate to that feeling of like sitting in a cafe and bringing your notebook and like having coffee and trying to write, and then like so many times I can't write anything, but I feel that like impersonation of like a writer's life in a cafe. Like, I don't know, I just thought that was really relatable for me. She also talks about like male consciousness, and like she has this passage like the voice of the male consciousness infecting women, like so that they almost think with a male conscience, although they're not even, they have no rights to like inhabit that voice or those thoughts. And there's a really interesting passage dealing with that. She's reckoning with like being a mother and being like a strong modern woman in the world, like living in a neo-patriarchy, and just like what the modern mom or like the modern women's like niche is inside of this like societal system. She writes, Adrienne Rich, who I was reading at the time, said it exactly like it is. No woman is really an insider in the institutions fathered by masculine consciousness. That was the weird thing. It was becoming clear to me that motherhood was an institution also fathered by masculine consciousness. This male consciousness was male unconsciousness. It needed its female partners who were also mothers to stamp on her own desires and attend to his desires, and then to everyone else's desires. We had a go at canceling our own desires and found we had a talent for it, and we put a lot of our life's energy into creating a home for our children and for our men. And just a little other passage that I really loved regarding like writing, it's towards the end of the book. She says, as far as the builders sitting next to me were concerned, I was not quite there. She was in a cafe. I had written myself into some other kind of status, and they didn't feel easy about chatting me up or asking me to pass the salt. I was out of it. Writing made me feel wiser than I actually was, wise and sad. That was what I thought writers should be. I was sad anyway. much sadder than the sentences I wrote. I was a sad girl impersonating a sad girl. Yeah, she just is so interesting to read, and yeah. And then a lot of the passages of her in Mallorca and being at this hotel that she'd been to before a few times, and how each time she checks in there, she's in a different place in her life. So yeah, that's all I have for now, but I really enjoyed and I recommend. I think now we're gonna watch RuPaul's Drag Race, and we have a dinner tonight at our friend's house, so that will be really nice. And yeah, that's it. Off to a dinner party. Ta-ta! Ta-ta!
I have to like. Yes.
I'm like it looks like more.
Wow, what's in this camera?
Yes. You're so cute.
You have to do this.
Wow, right?
Oh my god. It's crazy. We're doing something. No, I just like can't.
Ohad has just made this beautiful summer salad. Cabbage, cucumber, orange, bell pepper, and coriander and lemon juice. Look at it, so summery, so fresh. It's Sunday morning, which means it's my Monday. So I go to work today, everything starts back up again, the weekend is over. Actually, like, should be leaving the house right now, but I'm gonna be on the edge of late today. I just came to end the vlog and say thank you for watching this week. I was also thinking that it doesn't have to be a full week, you know, it can also just be, doesn't always need to be like a full week, a super long video, it can also be something shorter. I'm balancing you on like a stack of books and I feel like you can see it right here. Anyway, before I log off, I wanted to just tell you that last night I wanted to start something new, but I just couldn't, I didn't know what. So like the 30 minutes that I had brain power for reading last night was like reading samples of things, like reading the first few pages of a few things. So I'll tell you what those few things are. I still haven't decided. First one, which I'm like the one that I'm leaning towards the most, is Tonight I'm Someone Else, essays by Chelsea Hodson. Iggy just talked about it in her essays video. And yeah, like it sounds really interesting. It sounds like I would love it. So that's one. And then I felt like maybe short stories again. So I thought Deborah Levy's Black Vodka, because also like the title, Black Vodka, come on. And I think they're supposed to be very like moody stories, which can be fun. And I love Levy after just reading Things I Don't Want to Know. And the other option that I read a sample of was Otessa Moshfegh's Homesick for Another World, which is also short stories, and that looks really interesting. And then like right before I went to sleep yesterday, I was like, but also like I want to finish, like I obviously want to get my way through the Cusk outline trilogy, which means I should read Transit. So I started reading Transit, and then I fell asleep, and like I don't know what's going on. So I'm not sure what I'm embarking on next. Wear sunscreen, guys. Yeah, that's it for now. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.